It's time for the birth of the new golden era. Welcome to Shattering the Matrix. Your host, Ari Kopel, and co-host, Serena, bring you information that will shatter the matrix and shine light on the conditions and forces that are keeping the planet in third-dimensional density and inspire solutions and positive outcomes. Humanity needs to step up and desire to be freed from the darkness of this prison. No one, no thing outside of ourselves will do this for us. Ari Kopel helps us step into our power and authority that will shatter this prison. Now, be prepared to open up your consciousness, become aware, and emerge victorious by standing in our divine power and divine authority in unison, co-creating a new earth. Now, here's your host of Shattering the Matrix, Ari Kopel, and co-host Serena.
Hi, this is Ari Kopel and Serena with Shattering the Matrix. Another day that we're speaking to you from the Matrix, trying to get out. I know that she and I are both trying to get out, and I'm sure a lot of you are as well. Serena, you're with us today.
Yes, I am.
Yay, all right. So Serena and I had a really fascinating talk yesterday on the phone, as we usually do, and it's usually very enlightening, and I usually could kick myself when I don't record it because our conversations in and of themselves can be radio shows if they were recorded. So we're going to try to, go over briefly the different topics that we discussed yesterday because they were pretty outrageous, and it's not something that we don't know internally, and I'm sure a lot of you do too. It's the fact that we know them, and then we're not, we don't have maybe the words to put them, out so that we can express them. And we were actually expressing them yesterday. And then the funniest part of the whole thing was that Serena later emails me that she had discovered a YouTube video with a woman that was discussing in the first 9 to 10 minutes of that video exactly all the points that we had discussed previously in our conversation, which totally blew me away. So, which means that this type of material, this type of information is coming in from a multitude of sources now, and it's in the collective consciousness right now of humanity. At least I'm seeing that more and more people are waking up to this information. So there's got to be something to it. And the reason we're bringing it forth to everyone is because these forces that have a grip on humanity right now, they are not originally part of they're not part of the original blueprint of the divine creator, okay, or the divine blueprint of our prime creator. So they're alien from that, meaning alien not of the original blueprint. So when that happens, when we have an alien force, whether it's in a country being invaded by another one, a city where you have gang members coming in, the population needs to unite to be able to overcome this, and that's our intent. We really want to bring this information so that it hits home, and that everyone can realize that we're all in this together, that there is a force out there that is malevolent to humanity. And so with that in mind, Serena, do you have anything that you wanted to add to what I just said?
I want to say I just had a 5-hour conversation with a beautiful and loving woman in Australia, and that we understand as beings of love, because we do have love, that this is the power that can handle this. You can't take this information in with fear. You have to take it in with love. And with love, you take in all the awareness of what is happening. You take in the ugly details, You take in considering the solutions, and all of this has to be done with love. And that is the energy with which we are doing this. We're absolutely, we love humanity so much that we are compromising ourselves, our comfort zones, our personal lives, everything, to speak and get this information out there, to let as many people know as possible that there is another reality that they have not considered yet, and it is very real. Because as I mentioned once before, handling it in this way of seeing how the dark forces work and looking at that and dealing with them head on and face on, this is when I have gotten better results in my personal life. And this is what we're trying to share with other people. And we do this with love, okay?
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to say.
Well, yeah, that is definitely the ultimate driving force, at least, behind, I know it's behind you and behind me. We've decided to have this also added to our mission, as if we didn't do it enough already. But there's never enough to do. I mean, there's always, if things are left undone and we still don't see progress, then whatever it needs to be done to get the job done, that's what we do. And so that's why we've taken this. Anyway, we had spoken yesterday about the similarity of the movie The Matrix with what is happening with these dark forces, call them Archons, call them whatever you want to call them, that apparently feed off humanity's suffering, humanity's anguish, in all forms. And, the similarity of what we discovered the other day about the chakra system, where, there's certain energy points that there may be like little tethers going in there and sucking that energy out as well.
Yeah, can I say something?
Yes,
about that?
yes.
I don't mean to cut you off.
No.
Just hold your thought if you were running with something.
That's okay.
Okay. When it comes to the chakra systems, let me just say that all these years that I have been doing yoga on and off and involved in the Hindu system, and just trying to understand the chakras and how they work, activating them, deactivating them, spinning them in their correct, directions, or clearing them or empowering them, whatever, you name it, I could not do it. And I have been able to do a lot of things. I have never considered myself a person who does not have power. In fact, I consider myself a person who is very powerful. And there are a lot of things I've been able to do. So I thought working with the chakras would be so simple. Everybody's doing it. Of course I can do it, but it wasn't working. And years, and I thought maybe meditation, maybe more this, more that. I mean, you name it. And I tried working with the chakras, and nothing. I mean, literally nothing happened. Absolutely nothing. And I said, okay, I'm going to leave them alone because they're not working with me. So I can't work with them. I'm following all the directions, all of these people. I've done everything, but it's not happening. So I decided to leave them. Now, at that point, I started to think about this, and I said, well, since when does something in my own body not respond to my intentions of correction? Since when? Right. Because the natural state of the body and the energy of the bodies is balance. That is the natural state. So if I'm trying to create a natural state or a balance or a harmony and it's not happening, then that means there's an interference.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. So if all of my efforts could not do anything with my chakras, it means that there was interference with my chakras, and I couldn't understand it. So I decided to leave that alone until I had further understanding. And I still studied and researched, and still I found nothing else that could enlighten me as to what was going on, until I finally decided, you know what? I am tired of being at the whim or the control of chakras, whether they're spinning one way or another way, or they're in charge of certain energies or certain qualities in life that we have, like the sacral and the third chakra, the heart chakra, the mind chakra. No, I want to be a whole, complete, unified being. I don't want to have to separate them into segments and worry about whether they're being balanced or not or spinning in the right direction. No, I want to be one complete cohesive whole, right?
Yeah.
So I said, I'm not going to continue working with these chakras until I understand exactly what's interfering with getting them balanced. Well, it turns out that, they're not exactly my best friend, and I don't think that there are many people who have them as best friends either.
Huh. Yeah, maybe a lot of people are not aware of that. But, there's information coming out about that right now that, people can read on. I believe George Kavasilis has put up some information on that, and there's another woman, which we need to get the website up.
Yeah, Lady Mystica
Okay.
talks about that.
Fantastic. Yeah, there's a lot of information coming up, and the funny part is, again, here we are with the same thing that I mentioned at the beginning, is that more and more you'll see information that kind of like confirms others, somebody else is saying it. You know what I'm saying? So it's becoming more evident that a lot of the belief systems that we had and things like that are being brought to the surface so that we can revisit them, so we can look at them again, because there's so much evidence showing, an opposing belief, an opposing actually, evidence showing that that what we thought was this way is really now this way. So yeah. But anyway,
we have to question everything.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. Where this information comes from, we have to question it. We can't just look at a book and say, well, these are the chakras, these are what they control, and they have to spin in this direction and that. No, we need to question this, and we need to question this with the divine authority that lies inside of the person that is operating from wisdom.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can't just believe stuff that's written.
Yeah.
Everything, and this goes for everything.
Yeah, yeah, and again, it's part of the conversation that we had yesterday. That again, information from all sorts has been compromised for the purpose of keeping us chasing a certain, maybe going down a certain path, preventing us from really getting to the true enlightenment, because it's not a good thing to be really truly enlightened or to be able to get out of the matrix, because they need us here. And why do they need us here? Well, because we're a food source. How are we a food source? Well, we are, energetically, we provide the energy that they need for food. If we are creatures or beings that are giving out this, frequencies, whether, if some of us are in a lower frequency, some of us are in higher frequencies, depending on our spiritual level, and these beings are feeding off of that, they don't want us to leave the pen. We're the cattle. We're the livestock. And again, I was trying to bring the similarity to the Matrix movie, because I always bring that whole concept of as below, as above, so below, that type of thing. How do human beings treat animals when they're, for example, the chickens? We put, the majority of the ones that are the caretakers of these chicken coops and stuff like that sell them to Purdue and Tyson and all that. They all keep them in these cages. They're all stuffed in there. They're all mistreated, and they don't really have any feeling or emotions or anything towards these animals of how, if they're suffering, if they're not suffering. They're just an end product. They're a good, goods that are being traded in the market. So very similar to that, the movie The Matrix. It shows how these people, they're, first of all, people think that they have a certain reality. They're going to work every day. They're having a love life. They're going to a football game, and all this stuff it's a program that's, put in by the captors to make them think that they're going through this life and through these experiences. And all along in the movie, the people were pretty much in a cocoon of some sort, where they were, I believe they had some kind of electrodes or something running down their spine or the back of the head, where they were capturing all their emotions and energy being used as their food or fuel. So, and it was kind of, it's disgusting to even watch in the movie, let alone the whole concept is repulsive. But that's indeed what is happening. to humanity. And a lot of people don't understand that, but the actual movie is based on truth, which is not a good thing. But yeah, so that's the mind-boggling thing, trying to wake up to that and realizing that there are forces that are they're not evident with our physical eyes, but if we really pay close attention, we can see their signature, within our society, or the signature in the way that the planet has been evolving, and the way that the planet is deteriorating, in front of our eyes, with all the the pollution and the chemtrails and all the atrocities that they're doing with the mother, with Mother Earth herself, not let alone all the sentient beings on there. Do you have any comments on that?
Oh boy, wow, yeah. Well, you just said a lot, and that's pretty much what's happening. But the Matrix similarity. Let me just give my experience of when I first saw the movie. I don't like to watch movie. I really don't like Hollywood at all. And I was staying at a friend's house, and she said she would rent a movie. I said, okay, cool. So she went and rented the movie, and I saw this Matrix thing, and I saw this, this guy. I said, oh, no, please, not another guy with a gun and shooting. I can't take it anymore. I don't watch movies like that. It's sickening, actually. And she says, no, it's not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be. I said, no, I can't do it. I said, I'll just do something else. So she puts the movie in, and she starts watching it. And then I felt bad, and I went in and started watching it with her. And within the first, 15, 20 minutes, my jaw hit the floor. And I said, oh my God, This is what's happening. This is the truth. They're telling the truth. Yeah. Why are they doing this? Why are they telling people exactly what's going on? And I did wind up watching the 3, which were very, very difficult to watch, because you don't want to think of yourselves as being in this position, because a lot of people are very comfortable, accepting the status quo. They think, they'll have a good job, and the kids are doing okay, and they can pay their bills and eat at night, and all is well. Well, that's okay for some people, but a lot of people are waking up and they are uncomfortable to the fact that, number one, there is a hell of a lot more to life than that. And number 2, it can't stay stagnant like that with all the sickness and violence that permeates almost every single person's life in one way or another. If it's not happening to you personally, then it's happening to your neighbor, or it's happening to your city, or somewhere in your city. And it's like no one can escape the sickness and the violence in some way, and until everybody's energetically clamped down into a state of self preservation and selfishness, and you can't think anymore, because when you're in survival mode, you're not accessing the divine realms.
Yeah.
You're just not. And people are living in survival, but the suffering that we're experiencing now all over the world is horrendous. It is huge. You can't even mask it with the fact that, there are good people doing good things. Yes, but this is the exception. The majority of people are suffering, period. End of story. Mm-hmm. This is really happening. And the way that they acclimate people is by doing it in increments. I mean, the whole enslavement thing happens by acclimation, slowly. They don't tell you right away. I mean, of course there would be a revolt. It happens slowly until finally everything is clamped down and you're used to it. And then by the time your kids are growing up, and they're growing up in a camp, and they're like, well, this is normal. I grew up in a camp. My father grew up in a camp. This is how life is.
Yeah.
No. But a lot of people, thank God, are realizing, they're waking up to the fact that they are actually chickens, awakening up to the fact that they're in a chicken coop.
Yep.
And a breakout and a game changer has to happen.
Yeah.
It has to happen.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that a lot of people are still asleep and believing change is going to happen through someone else, through God, through spaceships, through prayer, through whatever. It has to be a human, physical, collective effort to throw off the enslaver.
Yeah.
It has to be.
No, totally. It's in a collective effort too. I mean, at least with as many people that totally get it and are totally awake to be able to do that, because I don't know that everyone will be on the same page at the same time to be able to, to do that. But at least, my goodness, the ones that are here to that know better, that come from perhaps other realms, they have a higher consciousness, a closer spiritual connection to source. Those are the ones that I'm at least expecting to step up to the plate. And still, to this day, with all the information that's coming out, with all the researchers and well-known authors and radio talk shows and articles and books and stuff, I mean, holy cow, still there are people that are in denial of this within the light workers.
Yeah.
And that is absolutely shocking to me and appalling to me, because we cannot turn this around by thinking that the masses are all going to wake up and revolt against this. It's not going to happen. It really, first of all, the masses are just too, I think that they are so hypnotized, and desensitized through
the fluoride,
through all the manipulation that has been done on them.
Yeah.
No fault of theirs, really, so much as to the fact that they have been compromised that way, and there's nothing that they can do. We can't expect them to rise up. Okay, and so I am expecting, though, that those that were here to uphold the light, that they do so. That they do so, and part of that comes from acknowledging that there is a problem. We cannot change anything if we don't acknowledge that there is a problem. and I am, repeating the same old, because it hasn't changed. Even from the point of that the original website for 2012 emergence.com became a reality, all the way to now. There's been some progress, but it's a revolving door, because with the members, because every time that one posts something that is not pleasant to the ear, and that is shakes one's what one thinks is their the truth, it sends them running, and we get all kinds of people explaining how what the truth is. But the truth is that you really need to look at, just take a quick look, a little scan, shall we say, just take a quick scan into world affairs, into even your neighborhood, into your town, and see if it's really where it's supposed to be, if that truly is the divine creator's work at play, really.
Right.
Because it's not. And if the answer is it's not, then that should be an indication that there's something majorly wrong in paradise, and then we should do something. At least be open enough to take in some information that it may be uncomfortable, but you know what? Maybe that's the truth, because it's standing all on its own, and nobody has to decorate it to make it pretty or anything. But but the point is that these things are real, and they're as real as, perhaps, if you think about a couple of years ago, a lot of us probably didn't even acknowledge or even embrace the fact that there was fluoride in the water. A lot of us probably did not embrace the fact that there was HARP, or that there were chemtrails. A lot of us still called it contrails. And we fought it probably, tooth and nail, saying it was contrails. It was not chemtrails. Now a lot of us are saying, oh no, they're chemtrails, and it's got this and this and this, and this is what it does, and it brings Morgellons, and it does this. So a lot of us now are embracing that, and it took some learning curve, all right, at some point of acceptance. It took some time to be able to embrace that information, but that was hard to take to begin with, all right. But just like as like those things, that are pretty horrific, because they're obviously not benevolent. by any means. Just like those things are, as they're truths, they're happening in our reality, and so are those things that are creating mankind, whoever it is that's piloting the planes that are dumping these things on us. Something is asking those people to do that. And then maybe there's something else that is, in a chain of command, giving those orders to those, down the line. So what are those things is what I'm saying. And there's, again, enough people out there that are, that have made themselves, obviously experts in the field. Not me by any means, because I'm not an expert in the field. I'm just bringing in the information and using the radio, Blog Talk, whether it's Blog Talk Radio or in other venues, or the website, or wherever I can, to bring this information to people that are still on the fence or asleep. And I'm addressing specifically light workers, because the light workers are my business, because those are the ones that are going to make the difference. Okay, it's not the masses. I'm not even addressing the masses right now. I don't think we have a prayer with those with those right now. But I am trying to focus on those that really should be in the know, and some of us that are still looking away. And but again, there's plenty of experiences. For example, in my life, and I know you have in your life too, Serena, where you've had these forces bring havoc into your house, where you've had things being knocked down, things like that, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. The most bizarre stuff that there was another energy that caused it, because I'll be sitting here for hours peacefully, doing whatever I do online, and all of a sudden there's a crash in the hallway, right? And when I go to the hallway, I see that I have an angel sconce and a big picture. It's probably about 40 inches by 30 inches. Yeah. And it's knocked over and on the floor. And they're two separate pieces. And when I look at the hardware is all intact. The serrated piece that holds up the screws are there. They're all intact. The nails in the wall are intact. Everything is intact. Yeah. Nothing disintegrated, fell apart, or anything. So how did that stuff wind up getting on the floor? Like, it had to be knocked there. Yeah. And who knocked it on the floor? Right. So the time that this happened, it was I had been feeling a little low because there was a fire in the house, and I was freaked out about that. That was also a freak incident. And then I had just gotten happy because I was like, oh, I know what to do with the hallway, and I started singing, and I was going to fix it, and crash, boom, all of a sudden, because I was singing and I was happy. And this happens almost every time, and it wasn't even myself that noticed it. It was my housemate who noticed it. He said, you ever notice every time you say you feel good or something happens? And I said, no, I didn't, but I am going to pay attention from now on. Right. For damn sure. And I did. And sure enough, that is what happened. That is what was happening, because I was not, suspecting anything like that. I don't live suspecting things like that. They happen. They don't scare me anymore, because not at all. They don't scare me because I know what's going on, and they really can't touch me. Mm-hmm. They can cause a lot of pain. Mm-hmm. And I have been living with pain. It turns out that I have been suffering with migraines, serious, major, nauseating migraines, my entire life. And I had been taking medication for them my entire life. And then this one man, who I hope to have on our show one day soon, he offered to protect me. And I was, please, okay, yeah, that's nice, thank you very much, it's not going to happen. Well, just protect me in general from dark forces, right? And I was just feeling icky, and I felt like they were around all the time. Things were just not right, and when they're around, and now I'm learning what their signatures are, so I can be more specific, but at the time I was not. Right. Anyway, So he offered protection, and after 3 days of this, I did not have a migraine. And it was three days in a row for me was a lot. And I was like, wow, I haven't had a migraine. I wonder what's going on. Well, the whole week went by, the next week went by, 2 weeks went by, and I didn't have a migraine, and I was in shock. I was like, what is going on? What happened? Did I change my diet? What did I do in the house? What did I do? What am I eating? What am I not eating? What was, my water? I went through every single thing I was eating because I really, believed my migraines were being caused by something internally, like I had a medical condition. And so I went through everything. I dissected my food. I monitored it, and I tried to find out what was the change. There was no change. The only thing that happened different was that this man offered to protect me from negative attacks. And that's what was different.
Huh.
And then I realized that these migraines were not from any ailment that I had, but they were definitely psychic attack, because this man offered, and this is what was the result, and it worked, and I was in shock. I would have never, ever thought something like that was possible. So when I realized that, I said, I have to investigate this. I have to investigate this. Well, who's doing this? How do they do it? How do they cause pain? And if they're causing me pain, they must be causing other people pain. Why? Why are they doing this?
Right.
Who are they doing this to? And what, how many people are sick thinking this, that, and the next thing, and it's not really sickness, but it's this negative energy? Because let me tell you something, a migraine is not subtle.
No.
A migraine is intense agony. And there have been times where I was literally bouncing off the walls, holding my head and bouncing off the walls, just really wanting to be unconscious. They are horrid, horrid things. And I have not had one in 2 years. 2 years since that man offered protection.
Wow, that's huge.
Yes, it is huge.
Yeah.
So I'm still investigating this, because they still get through with other different kinds of pains in the body. They try to work on my housemate now. They try to work on other things, mechanical things. They break them down. It's just amazing. I watch this and I laugh, because I'm observing, and I test over and over and over again. 99 times out of 100, it's dark forces.
Wow, that's crazy. And it's very probable that, because your light, your light is so bright, and they probably already know what you're doing, in terms of helping humanity awaken and all, that you are being targeted that way to make you stop, perhaps, or...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They go after people who are who are definitely, first of all, loving beings. If you are a being that has love in you, and you're not capable of hurting people, and you're always helping, or and your love is real, and your love is powerful, and that is your intention, that is the light. That is the light that they see on their end, and they come for you, and they start bothering you from the beginning. In my case, they started when I was in my mother's womb still. Mm-hmm. But they also especially go after women, and psychic women, okay? Because psychic women who have the power of love are the force that can take them out. And I see them going after women all the time.
Right. They
attack women, and they monopolize, and they manipulate circumstances and all these things. They don't really take them over as much as the men. The men really get taken over by dark forces, and they just become the dark force itself. But they really target women to make them miserable. They manipulate circumstances. They compromise their relationships, because every truly powerful woman that I have met not only has a man in her life who is compromising her, by being either an alcoholic that she's trying to quote unquote help, or he's an abusive person, or he does, he plays funky games, or he does something and makes her miserable. And every single woman has one, unless she's already gotten rid of him.
Yeah.
And like in, your case. But
yes, like in my case.
I'm
Absolutely.
Sorry, Yeah.
Got the boot.
And in my case as well, I had to do that too, but it was terrible. But they do specifically go after beings who are of love, who have that light as a bright light, who are especially working against the dark forces and are vocal against them. Absolutely, definitely, they're on their case every day without fail. And women especially. So those are the three things that mark who they go after.
Yeah.
But they're always there, and there's not just millions of them. I'm finding billions. There are billions of them for each person. They have at least several entities for each person that is being attacked this way, and this can go on for your entire life. There's several of these entities, and they can be different kinds of entities. Different kinds, like different species of blackness, but they're always there.
Yeah, it's almost like a universe. It's almost like a universe within, like a creation.
Filled with life, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's the opposite. It's the opposite of the white blood cells that we have in our body. Now, we have white blood cells as the army of our body. When a foreign agent comes in, a microbe, a bacteria, something that doesn't belong, the white blood cells come like an army, and they come right at that thing, and they surround it, and they either destroy it or they help escort it out of the body. Right. However that happens. And this is what the job is of white blood cells. Now, in the dark universe, of which we are living in, there are many, many billions. And as you say, as above, so below, as within, so without. So what is happening inside of our bodies is happening on the outside of our bodies in the universe. And there are all of these entities as clearly revealed in that video that you had posted, where the tether had broken from this 12-mile long rope that NASA had sent out
from the space shuttle.
Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
And all of these creatures that were filmed. And these are living beings. They were pulsating, they were vibrating, they were emitting light, and all of this was documented.
And they look like amoebas. They look like parasites.
Just like amoebas, exactly. Everybody is giving the same description for them. And this was even revealed in Star Trek as Return of the Archons, as this huge being, creature in space. And it has the same shape. It's a blob kind of thing with a single eye, and then the little serrated piece, the serrated edge, whatever that means. But there's like a split there. And this same creature, this same image, has been photographed by many different people. And they made an episode about this on Star Trek, which was hilarious.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because you know what Hollywood does, right? They just, they make a movie out of reality.
Sure, yeah.
And call it fiction.
Yeah, that's because somebody in there obviously knows something, and more than likely, they're probably connected to the actual the goons who are the the owners of the Hollywood studio who are part of the ritual, and it goes. I mean, you let your mind run with that, because we know who's really orchestrating the whole thing.
Yeah. They say everybody in Hollywood, all of these famous actors and actresses that really make it big, the ones that become Hollywood stars is the key word.
Yep.
That each one of them has to have a sexual session with the top guy.
I'm sure.
The top guy.
I'm sure.
Because this is a patriarchal industry.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But and on top of that, they also are. There's a lot of them. I'm not saying most of them or anything, but there is a whole slew of these Hollywood stars and rock stars and just famous people that really are worshiping Satan. They admittedly actually do that. So it kind of
there are videos, and you see it. I saw one with Dillon, this old guy. He's old now. I think what was his name? Dillon. Do you know his first name?
No. Who's Dillon? I'm sorry.
Dillon, one of these rock stars from the 60s or 50s, whatever. And he's an old man right now, and he's being interviewed by an anchorman, very simply, and he says, and he reveals in that video that he does pay homage and pay to what he calls the chief. And the anchorman was smart enough to ask, he says, should I ask or not who this chief is, the head honcho? And the guy says, no, it's just the chief, the head honcho, the big guy. That's it. That's, it wasn't love.
Right.
It wasn't God.
Right.
It wasn't goodness. And God doesn't require, paying homage to anyone. You know what I mean? God doesn't require that. The true God, the true source doesn't require that.
Right, exactly.
But the dark force, the Satan, does require homage and worship and all of that. Yeah. So that's what they're paying homage to.
Yeah. So, and this is what a lot of our youth and a lot of the sleeping masses are using as role models and whatnot. So, I mean, no wonder, no wonder we're in this mess at this point. So, I mean, so here's the $1 million question, right? Because you and I have conversations in private on the phone that are long rants, right?
Yeah. It's so much fun. There's so much, really, because I can get to say everything and anything that I want to with all of my emotion, without worrying that you are just going to take it personal. You're like, and I'm yelling and I'm cursing, and you're like, I know, and you're, just really cool and calm, and I love that.
Yeah, it's either that or I'm laughing on the other end, right?
Yeah, laughing a lot. I'm like, why are you laughing? This is not funny.
Yeah, because you know what? It comes full circle. It comes to the point that it's so dreadful that we have to laugh. We can't cry anymore, and it just comes full circle. We're at the laughing stage. It's like we're at the fuck it stage. Fuck it. What are we gonna do? Just fuck it. And so you and I have agreed that we reached that point in our lives in this incarnation where it's so overwhelming, and to be able to make a dent, it's the analogy that I always make, that it's you and I, and I'm sure many other people can relate to this, but since we love Lord of the Rings, I have to say you and I, right?
Yeah.
We're the two little hobbits holding that ring, trying to get rid of that ring, trying to destroy it. And here we are uphill with a spoon trying to fight all the orcs.
Yeah, I know.
Okay?
I know.
So what do you do when you see yourself doing that? You go, fuck it. Right?
I don't know. I don't know. And then, who comes flying in at the last nanosecond, right? I mean... The Gandalf on a dragon or something like that,
Yeah.
I mean, that's my hope and that's my prayer, and I'm going to stick to that prayer. I have to say, I'm going to stick to that prayer, but I still feel we have to do it. We have to do this ourselves, and then we will get the assistance of those who see that we have our heart and soul committed to making these improvements in our own circumstances. And then when we have shown our commitment to acting and making these changes for ourselves, but not just for ourselves, but for other people, then I think we will get this assistance.
Yeah.
But as long as we're sitting around waiting for them to do it, and no, they're not going to come, and I wouldn't come either. I wouldn't come if somebody needed help and they're just sitting down doing nothing.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, what are you doing to help yourself? Well, no, I'm not helping myself. I'm waiting for you to come and help me. Well, no.
Right.
No. Until you do everything that you can possibly do, then I will come in.
Yeah.
And help
Once
you.
you've exhausted all your resources to get yourself out of the mess, because you've allowed the mess to happen, then I'm not coming to help you. You've got to at least make an effort. Get off the couch, put the potato chips down, turn off the TV, and get your ass off the couch and start picking up.
Yeah, and so
clean up.
Let's talk about what that looks like, okay? What does that look like? Well, some of my heroes right now are simply people who get on the radio and talk and reveal this stuff, because they're talking about what they know. It's not pretty. It's not making them look pretty. It's not comforting, but they're getting out of their comfort zone because they have learned something that is important for you to know. And if everybody knew this and we all acted together, we can make a difference. These people are my heroes. They're writing about it. They're talking talking about it. They're not negating it. They're not denying it. Because let me tell you something. I did not ever want to look at this ugly stuff. If you had told me 3 years ago that I would be looking at alien material or ufology, I would have laughed in your face. I would have bet you money that was never going to happen. Okay? I would have made a really significant bet with money I don't have, because I was convinced that you were going to lose. But you know what? I had to, beliefs, again, beliefs are those direct obstacles put in the way from discovering the truth. Yeah. That's all beliefs are. You can have any kind of belief you want. You can believe in pink elephants. It doesn't matter. If you have a belief, it is a distraction. And they are put there and given to people. And I hear people say, I believe this is good. I believe love will prevail. And you know what? Love can prevail. But love is an action. Yes. Love is a verb.
Yes.
It's movement. It does things.
Yes.
It doesn't sit and talk about love. It's
creation.
Not empty. It's not. It is backed by passion and energy that when it starts moving, it continues to move. In other places, it never dies. It never wears down. It just keeps going and going and going. So, these people who are talking about it, writing about it, blogging about it, talking to their families, their friends, educating their kids. Listen, you have to go into these places because the shit that is happening is dark. It is dark. And we have to face it with the light of strength and with the light of a being of God and with love. This is how we have to face the dark. And we have to look at this, and we have to do whatever we can. We have to blog about it, write about it, we have to speak about it, we have to share with our friends about it, we have to do radio shows, movies. I would love movies. The Matrix was out, but that was Hollywood, and everybody, believes it's fiction.
Exactly.
Something, anything, but, helping other people to see, the falsehoods that are out there. Investigate, do research. If you don't believe it, then do your own research. Do it yourself. Look it up. Look it up. Never mind your beliefs. Get the freaking beliefs out of the way, but look up and do the dang research. Yeah. And you'll see for yourself. It's not hidden. Yeah. It's in everybody's face.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's not like, it's like I always say, don't believe me, don't believe Serena, don't even believe the researchers that are now, they're experts in this field.
Look at the evidence. The evidence is everywhere. Yeah. The perpetrator is pretty much invisible unless there are these guys in suits or brutes and boofs, as I call the military, and all of this other negative, crap that the patriarchy develops. But the evidence is everywhere, and everything is clamping down on you. They're taking stuff away. They're not giving you anything. They're taking stuff away. Hello? Who's doing that?
Yeah.
Who's doing that? Who's squeezing the life out of you? Who's poisoning your food? And this is for your own good. This is for what? A lesson? Are you serious?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously?
Yeah. And then there are those that, they pray and they pray and they pray and for example, if a person is in agony or they have a health situation, even in a situation where there's, let's say an abusive situation where there's maybe a child sexually molested, and they could be asking for mercy or pleading for their lives or whatever. Where are the benevolent forces at that moment?
Oh God, yes.
Where?
Don't get me started. Yes.
I mean, let's address it like right now. Let's address this right now, because in reality, I'm going to tell you that in my life personally, I mean, I have to be, honest that there's been times where I have asked for divine intercession and I have received divine intercession. But there's other times that, I have asked and it hasn't happened. But there are some people on this planet that it doesn't matter how much they're on their knees praying and begging and supplicating with what they call God. And those divine forces that, in their limited knowledge, that's what they believe is their divine sources, are not receiving any type of relief or any type of response.
That would be me.
Well, there you go.
I'm one of those people. And I see many children and I see many people who are praying constantly, please relieve me from the situation. God, please help me. Tell me what to do. I don't know what to do. I've racked my brain. I've done whatever I could. I can't think anymore. And of course they can't think. They're all filled with fluoride and medication and diabetes and fibromyalgia and lupus and every kind of fucking disease. And you can't think. Because you have brain fog, and then chemtrails, and then you're eating poison food, and you have no one who really cares for you, and you're emotionally foggy, and so of course you can't think of what exactly you're supposed to be doing. And these people are praying, please help me, tell me what to do, point the way, send me something, a hint, a clue. Nothing, and nothing comes. And these people will be praying for days, months, even years, and nothing changes. Nothing happens for them. And these children, millions of children leave and are disappeared every year. Yeah. Millions disappear, never to be found again. Where are they going?
Yeah.
Why is not the entire planet in an outrage? Why?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's horrible.
Prayers are not being answered. I mean, I hear people praying, and I see their circumstances, and you know what? I see them suffering, and I'm like, enough with the suffering. This person, they may have done something, but you know what? They paid for it. Done. Enough. Enough with the suffering. Let's just end it. Just end the suffering, and let's get people back on track in joy and in happiness with no more psychopaths to make anyone miserable. It's enough already.
Yeah. But the thing is that, this is just a generalized, we're painting a picture of what this looks like, but we really need to address the cause, because we're looking at the symptom. But we need to look at the disease. What is the cause of these symptoms? You know what I'm saying? And those are those forces that we're addressing right now in this show, and others are addressing in their own shows. These archontic, demonic, forces, demons, satanic forces, whatever we want to call them, because I don't even know what they are.
Slew of them. There's a whole variety.
There's a whole variety. They're all
working together.
Exactly. It's a whole paradigm. It's a whole creation. It's a whole creation with different, species and different, expressions, and they're all serving the same one source instead of being and I'm not talking about the divine prime, the prime creator. I'm talking about their source, whatever that might be, which is not, it's dark. And again, I know that you, it's like you were talking about the manifestation of what that looks like with your home. I know that you told me a story is, for example, that you were holding a plate and all of a sudden it flew out of your, just completely flew, like somebody hit it from the other side,
It was knocked out of my hand and it went across the room and hit the cabinet. And I was eating one of my favorite dishes of all time. And I had just come back from the backyard and I had just, my housemate had just come home from work, so I went back there to say, hey, how are you doing? And he was fine, and I said, you know what, I'm fine too. Yeah. I'm happy, I'm good, and I'm eating my favorite dish, one of my favorite dishes in my beautiful bowl, and I'm like, I'm happy, and he looked sleepy, so I walked away. And I walked back in the house. As soon as I walked and stepped in the door, the bowl went flying across the room. And I'm not throwing my favorite dish across the room, first of all, okay? Second of all, I've never dropped a dish in my life. I've never broken a dish. I'm very mindful of my movements and how I move, and I've never broken anything. It just went flying. I have so many stories like that, it's just not funny.
Yeah.
I know there is something there working against me.
Oh yeah, and you're paying attention to it, but there's other people that stuff happens to, and they think it's
dismiss it.
Yeah, they dismiss it. Yeah. And then I tripped.
Yeah.
You were discussing. You pointed something to me yesterday in reference to a video where two men were in some kind of like a show, and then they had a caller call in. Can you talk a little bit about that bizarre video with the
scary thing? It freaks me out. But
I know.
I had received a video and I was watching it on YouTube, and then next door to it, I see this list of videos, right. And it says, Jin interrupts phone call live on talk radio show, and I'm like, oh, please, really. But my curiosity always gets me because as a researcher, I have to investigate even the asinine.
Right.
I have to investigate the stupid because I have to see what stupid looks like.
Yeah.
Right? Because if I'm going to define it properly, I really have to look at it and know what it is so I can define it, right? And so if I come across nonsense, I have to but the jinn, this word, the jinn, D-J-I-N-N, this word is coming up a lot lately as one of those species of entities that are manipulating humanity. And so I see this and I said, you know what, I think I'm going to have to start looking into what they are really and why they're associated with the Islam religion and what they are. And I see all this negative stuff happening. But anyway, I click on this video and to see what this sounds like. And these two men are sitting there. And this Shakya, oh my God, I'm probably totally twisting that word, and my apologies, because I don't want to do that. I just don't have the spelling in front of me. But he looked like he might have been a priest or something. So these two men are sitting there, and they get a phone call from this woman. And this woman is talking about a situation that she's in, and I'm imagining she's calling him for advice. And her problem is that she was sent some papers, from this man, and she was compromised. And she says that she was sent a jinn spirit because they were trying to stop her from testifying in court against a man for some crimes that he had committed. So she's talking and explaining this, and while she's talking and explaining this, her voice completely changes and morphs into this spirit, this ugly, horrible thing. Freaked me out. I don't like hearing things like that. And I'm listening, I'm like, and it hit me, and I'm like, you know what, I think this is real, I think this one is real. So I scrolled further because I didn't want to hear it anymore because I was getting, I'm a chicken when it comes to stuff like that. I mean, I can deal, I have poltergeist stuff happening here, but they don't touch me. They don't come from inside of me. They're outside of me.
Yeah.
Inside, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Okay? So I scroll further, and this thing starts talking, and it starts laughing, and this man, this priest that she called in to speak with, he starts speaking to the jinn, and, telling him, what are you doing, and do you know that you have to face Allah in the end? Do you know that you have to face Allah in the end? And I'm like, okay, so how is he going to take care of this? I mean, there's obviously a spirit here. It's taking over this poor woman, and compromising her because she was supposed to go to court and do the right thing. And so how is this man going to handle the spirit that's laughing at him? And I scroll to the end, and all he's saying is, do you know you have to face Allah in the end? Do you know you have to face Allah in the end? And I'm like, well, where's the resolution? Is that his question? Is this the bottom line? Anyway, I do have to do some research about the jinn and find out what that's all about. But, they're very commonly known and accepted in that Muslim community, and they're known to be major troublemakers. And if they're all agreeing to this, then it requires investigation.
Yeah.
Because I have a sneaking suspicion that these are some of the forces that are manipulating supposedly our leaders, and especially in the White House. This is my suspicion.
Yeah, I think
I have to research more into that.
I think you're probably right about that. And I had my own, encounter.
Tell me about your experiences. That was amazing. Oh, God.
Yeah, I've had several really bizarre ones. Recently, probably several years ago, I had one that just materialized in my room. Actually moved the mattress, which was a king size mattress, from the other side and knocked me over because I was leaning. My thigh was touching the mattress as I was kind of putting away as I was actually faxing. And so what happened was that this thing just, the room, actually the mattress hit my leg and made me kind of stumble. And then the next thing that happened was that the room got very cold, and then this entity materialized in the room, and then it was a back and forth exchange of who had to that he had to leave. But besides that, when I was younger, I had joined a a seeker. I was back in, I think it was like, must have been, I'm trying to think, either 18 years old. I was probably first or second year to college. And I joined a group of Christian students that they were Pentecostal. And they, I actually was, searching very much for getting close to Jesus and that type of thing. So we were sitting in a circle, in like a prayer circle, and all of a sudden, the pastor calls out and says, excuse me, he says, one of you does not belong here. One of you is an imposter. And so that was kind of like odd, but he kept saying, one of you is worshiping Satan, is not of Christ, and we need you to be revealed. And all of a sudden, this kid, a young kid, I don't know how old he must have been, maybe 18, 19 or something like that. I had seen him maybe 2 times prior. But anyway, he starts speaking in this voice that was, if you can imagine The Exorcist, this was what was going on. His voice was something from the pit of hell. And then all the guys kind of like went on top of him, and he kept, his strength was so amazing that he would be, pushing them away from him like as if they were paper, like that. And so everybody got on top of him. I mean, I remember getting on top of one of his legs. There was like 2 or 3 women on top of one leg, and another group of women on another. Several men holding him down on his torso, other people holding his arms. And this kid was speaking profanities, and he was foaming in the mouth, his eyes were rolling. So that's what was going on with this. It was the most horrific thing. I mean, it was directly from a scene from The Exorcist is what that was. So it was just very, very, very bizarre. But anyway, these things do happen, and they're for real. The particular kid in question was somebody who was worshiping Satan, and he was there infiltrating our group for whatever reason. So it's a common thing, I guess, with young people or something like that. Especially, I guess, if they take drugs or something, or they have openings in their aura. But these are the things that we're facing, in humanity. There's a lot of us that have these things. That either we're possessed with them, or that we have some kind of parasites that they're demonic, but they're feeding off our energy because we have some kind of opening in our aura, and those are, from what I understand, caused by trauma, by drugs, by vices of all kinds, including sex, pornography, and that type of thing. So these are the type of things that we need to not only be vigilant of, but we need to recognize that are existing, and that we need to, as light workers, come together and address. Otherwise, there are not going to be any solutions to this. First of all, lady, are you with us still? Serena?
I just got back. Thank you.
Wonderful. Good. So did you kind of heard, but basically the story, because I know that you heard it yesterday, because you got off the online for a little bit. But basically,
my power just suddenly died after I mentioned about the jinn and the White House. The power just died. Then it came back on, and so I had to sign back onto my computer and back onto Skype. Yeah,
and I just wanted to, also mention that it's interesting that when this young man was on the floor and he was not himself, this entity, this, and it wasn't just I can't say it was maybe a jinn. This thing was more evil and powerful than that. Okay, that's how amazing this was. This thing had the powers of probably 10 men that he was just flinging, the young men that were probably, 19, like the pastor was in his late 20s. And he was just, flinging these people across the room like you would see in a movie. We were on top of him. Everybody we were rebuking him, of course, in the name of Jesus, because we were a Christian group. We were rebuking him in the name of Jesus. That's what we know how to do. It eventually did leave. But he did confess that he was, a Satanist. So, very interesting, weird stuff. But I don't know. I mean, people don't understand that this stuff is real. This stuff is probably a lot of the population is infested. I don't know what percent, but in some form or another. And I'm not necessarily saying they're with the big head honchos, but more than likely the little minions that are either called jinn or parasites or whatever we want to call it. But they're actually infiltrating their thought systems, creating realities for them. Putting in, actually, even they're hearing voices with suggestions on doing this and that. A lot of the, possibly the what happened with, remember not too long ago, I think it was last year, that we had a whole slew of zombie-like attacks on people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was pure, it was either mind control and a combination of entity possession, in my opinion. So, we need to be vigilant and we need to be mindful of this stuff.
Right.
So, I mean, there's also ways of taking care of these whenever we get, for example, like the other day, I had this electronic migraine. I never get migraines, ever. But I had this very rare, very strange sensation on my head where it was so, I was so sensitive and the pain was so horrific that any noise, including cell phone or even a talk, like talking to you, let's say on Skype, would give me, would make my eardrums ring to such a point that was very uncomfortable and very painful. My eyes would tear. I would get blurry vision. And so I was listening to a video, an actual radio talk with Andrew Barstis that was talking about the salts and, putting salt on your crown and things like that in the back of your head. And I had never done that, ever. In my life had I ever done that. So I said, you know what, this is so excruciating that it merits me trying it. I'm always the one that protects myself with the electronic circle. I do the violet flame. And this thing was so bizarre and so alien to me that I said, you know what, let me try this that he's suggesting right now. And I could tell you, I put that bag on my head. I probably took about 10 minutes and the headache was gone. And that night I slept with the bag of sea salt behind my neck and in my coccyx bone area, and I could feel pulsating in the coccyx bone area, which means I don't know what it was doing, but it was extracting something. But I slept like a baby that day, that night. So, but anyway, I know that you do that a lot with the bags of salt.
Yeah. Well, I never worked with bags of salt. I've taken salt showers and salt baths. Yeah. But it never occurred to me to put it in a bag and sleep with it. I don't know what you see blockages. Yeah. It never occurred to me to do that. But anyway, when I heard Andrew speaking about that, I said, wow, I can do that right now. And I did. And I also had my experiences the same night that you did. Okay. Now, I know that sea salt showers removes the negative, nasties that are around, right? And I haven't discerned what kind of entities they are. I don't know if they're human astral remote viewers who are just, observing people. I don't know if they're shadow men. I don't know if they're alien. I don't know if they're globs of just, archontic type of, creatures who are just negative. I don't know what is causing it, but I do know that when I smudge with sage, now we're getting into the protection aspects. Yeah. I smudged with sage, and I used to have, I used to smirk at that stuff. I used to, it's amazing. Oh my God. I used to smirk at that stuff. All these people think they're going to remove entities with smoke. I mean, oh my God. So I was never interested, but you know what? I had gotten desperate. And when you are truly desperate, you will try anything, anything to try it to see if it worked well. I got some, I tried it, and I smudged, and it helped. I felt a clearing and a clarity and a relief and a release. So I started combining it with the sea salt showers. I would just take them in the shower with me and just scrub down from head to toe really quick, 2 minutes, just get the salt on my skin, rinse it off, and come out. And I would feel immediate difference. But then I decided to do the bag like you did that night.
Yeah.
And so I was listening to some YouTubes because I'm always researching and listening to people who are speaking about these things and exposing them. And I had the bag, I made it, I put it behind my neck, and, I'm not feeling anything, but I'm feeling at the top of my head, I'm feeling a headache coming on. Yeah. I'm like, oh, God, another headache. And so after half an hour of this, I said, I'm laying on a bag of salt. Why don't I put it on the top of my head? Hello? So I put it on the top of my head, and within 5 minutes, wow, it was completely gone.
Yeah.
And I said, look at that.
Yeah.
So I took it to bed with me when I was finally going to sleep. And I have a problem with anxiety and in my abdomen. I call it anxiety or agitation. There's an extreme feeling of agitation. And I don't know what causes it, but it can be so uncomfortable. I can't even begin to describe it. I mean, I have to get up and walk around or start jogging or, to get physically busy. And it's just terrible. And I've had this for years. So this started coming on in my abdomen. And I took the salt pack and I put it on my abdomen where it was being agitated. And that also disappeared in 5 minutes.
That's amazing.
And I said, look at this. I mean, I personally, I don't need any more proof. Like you said, Ari, yesterday, how much more proof do you? I don't need any more proof.
Right.
It just keeps happening. It's like 9 times out of 10, the problem that I'm having is not mine.
Yeah.
It's not mine because I take very good care of myself.
Yeah.
I was a bodybuilder for over 20 years. I've been, since I was 21, I've been exercising. I have been organic for over 30 years.
Yeah.
Organic. I eat well. I studied nutrition.
Yeah.
I mean, I know how to take care of my body. I grow my own foods. I eat well. I drink a lot of water. I take all the right supplements. And so I know how to take care of myself. And I don't plan on having any sicknesses, and I don't. And it turns out that everything that I've had, for the most part, most of it, has not been my own. Mm-hmm. And that's the reason why we're talking today, because we want to let people know that these things are happening to a lot of people. Try the sea salt. Try the sage with, smudging with sage and see what happens. And if your pain or your sickness, your confusion, your despondency, whatever it is, if it goes away, then it was external. Then you know that you have something interfering with you, something that's on you, boring down on you all the time.
Now, how would you address people who might construe what we're saying here as, and that's fine, how people construe or misconstrue, it doesn't matter. But, that they're saying that perhaps this is like a white magic or, just a form of Wicca or, whatever. I mean,
this entire universe is a magical universe. Hello?
Yeah.
The entire existence is magical. It has been nothing but a dark force, specifically a patriarchy, that has demonized the magic so that they could contain this magic as a power for themselves while removing it from the natural world and from people to whom it is a natural gift. This world and universe is a magical universe.
Yeah.
It is a magical universe. So they are allowing themselves, the controllers are allowing themselves to use the magic and with this knowledge and all of these abilities. In the meantime, they're demonizing it and crucifying and condemning, vilifying, ridiculing people who decide to do this, to work with natural energies themselves, because these are natural energies. These are energies that are all over, the universe. For example, the sage, the smudging with the sage. This is a plant. This is a plant that grows from the earth, and you take it and you smoke it. So who are these people? They don't mind picking up a cigarette that was, contrived with every kind of chemical and poison tobacco with all kinds of additives, plastics, resins, and nastiness, nicotine, and specific drugs that make you addicted to a tobacco cigarette, and they don't mind smoking that. But God forbid you take a smudge stick to remove negative entities that are making you feel bad, right? God forbid you do that, because that's the devil, but you can smoke a cigarette. That's allowed.
Yeah,
this is psychopathy. I don't,
And these are just all natural remedies. They're all, found on Mother Earth.
So simple.
Yeah.
Salt. I mean, how simple does it get? Salt.
So, and how do you answer someone who might think that the best remedy would be to to understand that we're divine, which we are, and then just work with the violet flame or our divine powers, and that we don't really need to be going down and getting salt or anything like that. I mean, do you have like something that you can say in maybe a couple of sentences to address that?
Yes, I can say that I have been using the white light and the violet flame for a long time, and they did not remove my headaches. That's all. It's very simple. And when you really know that you need help and you're trying to get whatever you can, you will try anything. As I said before, I was desperate and I needed help, and all of my invocations, as intense as they were, as passionate as they were, as long-winded as how many years, but I still had the headaches. However, this simple remedy, just smudging my house with sage, as simple as it is and as lovely as it is, I think it's beautiful, it worked. So I'm going to do what works. I don't understand how one thing works for one thing or another thing works for another thing. I don't understand that.
Right.
But I am going to do what works, because I don't want to live with pain and agony anymore.
Right.
And if I have something that's going to help me and it's natural and it's beautiful, smudging with sage or using sea salt in my shower that's very cleansing, then I'm going to do it. I'm going to do what works. And then I'm going to keep researching until I understand why. Why does the violet flame not work?
Well, it may work for some people. For some people, that are truly connected and have experience working and calling on the violet flame and working with the violet flame. I've seen some amazing results with it. Yet there are other people who don't know how to work with it, and for those people that don't know,
I guess I'm one of those people that don't know how to work with it.
That's fine, and that's fine. You know what? Some people don't, but I think the point that I'm trying to get at is that if a person does not know how to work with the violet flame and they're suffering from these things, that there's no reason why they should continue suffering if there is another remedy also that is organic, that's part of Mother Earth, that is as effective for this particular condition, which is having ailments that are clearly not coming from one's own body, that apparently somebody is being attacked or having some kind of parasites / entities attached that are just there trying to create havoc. If the violet flame is not working because a person does not know how to connect to the violet flame or evoke the violet flame, then by all means, then just go ahead and try this remedy, is what we're saying.
Yeah.
Because
it's clean, it's natural, and it's organic, so I'm using it. I'm going to do what works, and then I'm going to continue researching to find out why.
Yeah.
Why some things work for some things and other things work for other things.
Correct.
Because I invoked the violet flame. I took lessons in learning how to invoke the violet flames. I took classes, and I invoked the violet flame, and it didn't work with my headaches.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. But that's basically, in a nutshell, what I guess we wanted to address today. It was, the fact that, we're seeing a lot more, we're seeing a lot more evidence of people coming out with this kind of information.
The truth is coming out.
Yeah. And then, we also wanted to find out, talk about thoughts, being put in the mind, how that actually, what that looks like.
Yeah.
Because they do that all the time. The time.
Yes.
And people think it's their own thoughts. They get depressed. They feel like whatever, all the different stages of feeling like they're not worthy, that their self-esteem is to the floor. A lot of these things are put in there by these entities, aren't they?
Exactly. I want to talk about that. How much time do we have?
Oh, we have time.
Okay. For example, I have so much experience with this now since I've been watching this. I started watching this in 2009. And actually, it was a conversation that I had with George, and we were on Skype, and we were talking.
I'm sorry, which George are we talking about?
George Cavazos.
Oh, okay.
And he was, talking about. He had done an interview with I forget this guy's name. He's another MyLab guy, and they were talking about how these thoughts, or how these technologies and aliens and ETs and spirits, whatever combination, are able to put thoughts in your head. Direct full sentences. And I'm like, I can't believe this. This is another thing, right? This is another thing I refuse to believe. Like, I can't believe somebody could get into my head, into my body. Not going to happen. Not now. Not ever. And I'm like, no, I'm not, However, I know that I'd be cooking and I'd be standing there, and I like to feel good when I'm cooking. I play music so I can sing, because the energy you have while you're cooking goes into the food. I'm very conscious about that, so I have to feel good. So here I am cutting up the vegetables, and I'm angry, right? I'm angry because this thing about, something my housemate had done was repeating over and over in my head. And I said, okay, I'm tired of thinking about that. I'm done with it. I addressed it, took care of it, end of story, on to the next thing. But it wouldn't stop. It just kept playing over and over, the same thought. And I'm like, I said, I don't want to think about this anymore. So here I am arguing with myself. I'm saying, I don't want to think about this anymore. So why is this thought coming to me? And I'm like, wait a minute, something's not right. If I say I don't want to think about that, then I'm not thinking about it. Why does it keep replaying? It felt very foreign, It felt foreign. And I said, don't tell me. Please, God, don't tell me. Not another thing. They infiltrate my mind. Don't tell me this is possible. And then I remembered my conversation with George, and he had told me, listen, just try it. All you have to do is try it. Is just address those thoughts. When they happen in your mind and you feel like they're not yours, just address them, send them away, tell them to go screw off or whatever, and just try it and see what happens. So I decided to do that. I'm standing there chopping the vegetables, and this stupid argument is going on in my head, and I said, you know what? Get the fuck out. Because I was pissed. Because it's not listening to me when I tell myself to shut up, I shut up. But this thing is playing over and over. So I said that. And do you know, all of a sudden I hear silence.
Cricket.
I hear
Cricket.
Silence. And I had the sensation of surprise in my mind that this thing that was playing this recording over in my head was surprised that I had addressed it, and especially with such passion, directly. And it disappeared, and that was the end of that thought. And then there was silence in my mind, like it's supposed to be. It's quiet.
Right.
Because when I want quiet, I have quiet. So I said, oh my God, this thing was inside my head. Now, the next logical question is, how many times has it been there? How many things has it repeated that I have been wanting to not hear over and over, and it has repeated? How long has this been going on? And how does this happen, right? So all these questions come in. So I now have to start investigating this, and this was in 2009. And I have been investigating this, and ever since then I have been vigilant of my thoughts. I said, now I'm going to watch, and I'm going to pay attention. Because if this thing is in my head, speaking to me, in my own voice, sounding like me, and speaking in the first person as in I, right? Like, I'm upset, I'm so pissed off at this guy, like that. I said, how long has this been going on? I said, I'm going to watch this. So when I tell myself, stop, I don't want to think about this, I want to think about this, I want to focus on this project, and it doesn't happen, then I started to treat it as if it was a foreign agent in my head, and I would address it, and I would tell it, get out, stop it, shut up, or whatever, in very, uncertain terms, using very colorful language, and it would go away. So now I watch and I monitor my thoughts, and I hear them when they're coming in and repeating, and it's 2013, 4 years. 4 years I've been practicing this, and I have gotten pretty good at taking those thoughts and dismissing them, completely dismissing them. I can do this. And I'm talking every single day of monitoring and watching and being vigilant. Now, I don't know of a lot of people that would do that, but it has to be done, because these voices, they come in, these entities, and they sound like you, and they want to cause you agitation, and it's always in a situation that has a negative emotional charge to it, like when you're angry or you're upset or you're frustrated or, you're stuck in a situation, and it'll just repeat over and over. Even if you want silence and quiet and give your mind a break, it won't stop. It'll do that, and it'll sound like you speaking to yourself, so it can agitate those emotions, and this way you're constantly in a state of negative emotion.
Sure.
Now, yesterday I had to share this with my sister, right? I had to explain this to her because she's another one who's being attacked, right? And I have to start working with her, and she has no clue about any of these things, and it's going to be really hard and tricky. But she gave me an example. I said, they're going to get upset when you start getting rid of them. They'll start getting angry, and maybe something will break or glass will fall and it'll break. And she says, "Oh my God, I can't believe you said that." And I said, "Why?" So she says, "Well, I was cleaning my house a week ago, and I was, wiping and dusting all the tables, and all of a sudden this picture on the other side of the wall just fell and shattered. The glass shattered." And she said she didn't touch it. She wasn't. I said, "Do you remember what you were thinking when it happened?" She says, "Yes, I was crying. I was upset. And, I was just thinking the same thing over and over. Like, why do I have to live this life? And, I'm so tired. And why? And she said the voice was saying, why are you cleaning this house? Nobody ever comes to visit. Why don't you just leave it and just sit around and get fat?" Okay.
Wow.
This was what the voice was saying over and over and over to her. And she said it was just repeating. So I said, "Listen, Elaine, let me ask you something." I said, "Do you want your house to be dirty?" She says, "No, of course not." And I know her. She's a clean freak. So I said, "Why would you even think that you want to leave your house to get dirty just because nobody's visiting?" She says, "I don't, but this is what, I was thinking this. And I said, "Oh, let me ask you something else. Do you want to sit around and get fat?" She says, no way." So I said, "Then why are you thinking you should sit around and get fat?" She said, "I don't know." And I said, "Because it wasn't you."
Right.
I said, "You obviously want your house clean and you don't want to sit around getting fat." I said it was this other entity that was imposing a negative thought on you because it was making you feel terrible thinking this thought, but it definitely wasn't you because you don't want your house dirty and you don't want to sit around getting fat.
Right.
And she said, "Oh my God, It's getting clear. Oh my God." I said, "You're going to have to monitor your thoughts." And she said, "What are you telling me, that they're in my head?" And I said, "Yes. They're in your head, and they're thinking thoughts that you have thought before, only they're repeating them because they continually cause you pain, but it's not you." I said, "It's the craziest thing, but you need to be vigilant and watch this and monitor this, and when they come and they start saying things that are not true, like you should let your house get dirty when you know you don't want your house dirty, then you send them away, Elaine. Send them away with passion and in no uncertain terms. Send them away. And you have to keep doing that because that's how they operate on people. It's very insidious. It could be very intimidating. It could be scary for people to think that they have voices in their head, but psychologists will tell you that their institutions, the mental institutions, are loaded with people who hear voices telling them to do things. Mm-hmm. So, but in the average person, all they're doing is telling you, repeating thoughts that are negative. They're never positive. They're always something negative that causes you some kind of anguish or torture or pain, and it repeats over and over and over. You have to literally dismiss that one from your mind. It's very, very important.
Yeah.
And you'll see how they're working on you because they're saying things that are not true. They're just trying to cause you misery.
Yeah, and cause you not only misery, but to do maybe destructive, behavior, and which will further aggravate the situation, and then further put you into more misery, which then becomes more food for them.
Yes, and that's why they do it, and they're doing this to almost everybody on the planet.
Yep.
And I don't know how many there are of them. We're still researching, but this information is coming out. I know for sure this is how they work. I have helped my housemate, clear them out, and he's fine now. He watches them. When they come in, he sends them away. I'm working with a couple of other people. But you have to, you can't say this is not happening like I did. Because I was wrong. It is happening.
Well, see, back then when you were, starting to wake up to this information, maybe the amount of people coming forth weren't available then. They're more prominent now in the numbers of researchers and experts and whatnot that are coming forth with this information and writing books and, writing articles and stuff. So I think that if a person who doesn't run into this information now is really because they're seeing it, but they're not seeing it. You know what I mean? They're consciously not wanting to look at it. Because somewhere in some website, some blog, some email, they're going to get something about this. And again, if they're not opening it or they're reading it, but it's not filtering in, it's because they don't want it. They don't want to see it. It's hard
to think that, the thoughts that you're thinking in your mind are not yours, that it's somebody else, that it's something else that's planted in your head, in your own head, that your thoughts are not private, and they're not even yours.
Yeah.
And that these thoughts cause you to feel things, of course, because that's the next step. That's the whole point of doing it, is they cause you to feel all these negative emotions, and then you're in a situation where you're not connected to the divine, and you're in a low frequency, so you're in the hell that these beings come from, and you're not raised in a higher frequency where, you're connected to spirit and source, and above this low class of creature that is doing this.
Yeah. Well, we've come to that point in the program where we're at the end. We have explored a lot of stuff again, and a lot of it has been a rehash of rants that we've had not only on the phone, you and I, but perhaps other radio programs that we've been on as well, because we're just, again, trying to make sure that everybody understands the importance of this information. Yeah. So we're going to be having very important guests on our show very, very soon. I am not going to reveal those names yet because we're still in the process of obtaining them, but you will be very pleasantly surprised as to the caliber of experts that are going to be on the show to confirm what we're saying. And believe me, like I said a million times, Serena and I are not experts in this. We're researching this. We are pretty wet behind the ears with this, but once we found out about it, we decided to do something, and that is to create a venue, an additional venue for people to be able to get this information. With that in mind, Serena, thank you very much again for being on this program. You as a co-host, I couldn't ask for anyone better. And thank you so much, again, for, all your comments and information. Yes, you have something else to say?
I just wanted to add, that I really implore the people, if they've listened, this far, to please just try these things for yourself. Just test them. And, when you have these negative thoughts and you can't get rid of them, then start treating them as if it was a foreign entity and tell it to leave, and it has no right to be there. And use your spirit and command by the power of your divine will that this being must leave. And if you're feeling sick and you're feeling negative energy, just try smudging your house with sage or taking a sea salt shower. Just try it. These are very, very simple things. Then see how you feel. And then you'll know, because you'll prove these things to yourself. And try it a few times. This way you'll have a really good average. I just want to say, people, please, just try it.
Yeah, you have absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain. And if you do see that there is a difference in the way you felt, you might want to start observing that and questioning why.
Right, and you can take it from there, because then you'll see and then you'll know.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you very much for being and joining us in the show. Again, Serena, thank you one more time.
Thank you.
This is Shattering the Matrix with Ari Kopel and Serena, and we are here every Thursday evening at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you very much for joining. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Shattering the Matrix with your host, Ari Kopel and Serena. Please visit our website, 2012emergence.com. That's 2012emergence.com. Find us on Twitter at Matrix Shattered and like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Shattering the Matrix. Listen to archived shows at blogtalkradio.com/Shattering the Matrix. And join us next time for the birth of the new golden era on Shattering the Matrix.